What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Fish Lift Eat podcast. My name's Casey. Thank you so much for tuning back in with us for another episode today. We got a kind of a light crew here today. But for our listeners that remember back to episode number 2, we had Mr. Bailey Stone on from StoneFly Outdoors. So we got him back on today for some follow up and some more good times, some good laughs, I'm sure. So what's up, Bailey?
How are y'all doing tonight?
Doing good, man. Glad to have you back
Yeah,
on.
dude, I'm glad to be back on. Alive, awake, alert, enthusiastic.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So,
So let's just go ahead and pick up where we left off last time.
hmm
You dropped a good little nugget on us. You kind of started a trend for us where people were releasing new items and baits and things of that with recent guests that we've had. So where are we at on the new fly you talked about? I know you were waiting to release it after a tournament you had coming up. So tell everybody about how that tournament went and a little bit about the fly now that you can go into more detail.
all right. So we're gonna start with. I had two tournaments, 2 weekends in a row. We're gonna start for the very first tournament and then work our way into there. So I got a call Wednesday or Thursday before this tournament, the first tournament, from Devin Olson. Those that fly fish, Devin Olson runs Technical Fly Fisher. He's on Team USA. I think he's ranked number 3 in the world right now as far as fly fishing goes. Said, hey, there's an open spot, blah, 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 blah. All right, yeah, let's do it. Hell yeah, let's do it. So, started the tournament, and the big thing that's on your mind. So, tournament fly fishing is the most ridiculous thing I've ever done in my life. I take people fishing professionally. I tie flies. I do all of this stuff professionally, and I placed 24th out of 24.
Hell yeah.
I yeah, I caught. I think I caught. I think 17 fish in the whole weekend, or 13, something like that. But the consolation is that you know, being around the entirety of Team USA. Well, not all of them, but I think it was like 85% of Team USA was there. Um, a lot of these guys, their very first fly fishing tournament, they skunked. And so that consolation for me was like, all right, well, I didn't skunk, so I didn't completely suck. But that was fine with me, it was such a great learning experience. And then um got to network with a bunch of great guys, learn a bunch. Because how it works is that there's 4 sessions a day. So, session 1, 2, you take lunch, 3 and 4. One person judges and the other person fishes for each session. So, like one day I judged. Um, the first day I judged first, then I fished, and then I fished for third session, and then judged for fourth session, and then it changed up the day after. I think it was fish, judge, judge, fish for the last day. Anyways, you get to, while you're judging, you get to sit there and watch these. Like, I got to judge Devin Olson. I got to watch the number 3 guy in the world or whatever he's numbered at. I got to watch him pick apart a creek or river. And you learn so much. And then I judged um, Austin Shoemaker. He's one of the top anglers in the Southeast. I actually think in 21 or 22, he won Southeast Angler of the Year. So I got to see him pick apart this creek, and it's a very humbling experience, but it's also at that moment in time you come in, you want to keep your information retention and information taking in wide open. I learned
For
so
sure.
much, and so then, like I said, I placed dead last, but it's fine. I didn't skunk out, and I caught fish, so I'm very happy about that. Fast forward to the next weekend. It was the Casting Carolinas breast cancer tournament, and or might just be cancer. But anyways, that was a 2-man team event. We placed 13th or 12th. I think it was 13th out of 17 teams. So I was really super happy about that. It was still tough water. We scored a lot of points, but I mean, it was tough. Um, but again, I've already noticed that from my very first tournament, my second tournament, I'm already doing better. So that's what I'm
Absolutely.
excited about, is that progression.
So before we get into talking about the flying and stuff
Mhm.
about that, let walk me through a little bit just for my curiosity here about what a fly fishing tournament like, kind of how that flows. Like, how is it scored? What are we targeting? What, like, I guess I'm
So
saying, like, I mean, I'm used to, I'm used to the bass stuff, right? We blast off at a certain time. We run
yep,
anywhere on the lake, and we're just trying to bring the five biggest bass back that we can.
right, right.
So, like, what's the? I mean, just kind of give me like the fly fishing tournament 101 spiel here a little bit, just where I can kind of understand what it
So
consists
how,
of.
how it's broken up is, let's say this is a 2 mile stretch of river. We'll call this 2 mile stretch. And they break it up into like quarter-mile sections. So each section is a beat. So the Team USA event, we were fishing two separate rivers, Upper Nantahala and Cherokee General Waters. So half the guys fish that Upper Nantahala section, and it's all draw. You can go on, I think it's flycomps.com, and look for any tournaments going on to see what beat you're fishing, what you're judging, and all that. So they break it up into beats, and you get on the water at, I think it was 7:30 start time, or 8 o'clock, or 7:45, somewhere in there. It's like, cool, that's when your watch starts. So you go down, you can have your boots in the river, but don't cast. Once that judge says, all right, you're good to go, start fishing. You're targeting trout only. That's the only thing that scores. And for Team USA tournament, it was anything over 180 millimeters or 18 centimeters, which isn't, it's about an 8-inch fish. So how we judged that fish was, we had these little troughs. Once you catch it, you put it in the trough, squeeze the tail, whatever millimeter mark that was, boom, that's what the judge writes it down, what time you caught it, what species, and then that competitor has to initial that card before they can cast again. So it's just anything under 180 doesn't score, toss it back. Anything over 180, you count every millimeter of it. So
I
you get
gotcha.
2 hours at that tournament. You got 2 hours per beat. So you judge for 2 hours and fish for 2 hours. That's 2 hour sessions. And like I said, there's 4 sessions a day. So that's how they broke it up. And then, you know, when it came time to judge, um, it's the total amount of fish. And I think there was a big fish maybe, but and then Casting Carolinas was set up a little different. That was um sorry, Team USA was an hour and a half, and I think Casting Carolinas was 2 hours, or vice versa. And instead of having that trough to measure the fish in, um, you had a 20 centimeter zip tie and a 40 centimeter zip tie. So any fish that was 20 centimeters or bigger, you scored 20 points, and any fish over 40, you scored 40 points. Here's the caveat to that. So let's say you hook into a 10-pound rainbow and you spend 15 minutes fighting that fish, you're only going to score 40 points. It doesn't get incrementally bigger. So, like, yeah, awesome, you caught a really big fish, but you spent 15 minutes of that time fighting that fish. So that's
Yeah.
15 minutes. You could have caught two or three, 18 inchers that score right at 40. That takes you a minute and a half to get in the net. So it's one of those things that, I mean, granted, you can target fish, but try to pick and choose is tough. And yeah, that's how they scored theirs, was 20 centimeters and 40 centimeters.
So this
So
is basically, though, just as many fish as you can catch. It's just
yep,
your total
it's
combined length for the day.
a
I got you.
cumulative point. Yep.
It's kind of similar to
So
like what MLF does on the Bass Pro Tour right now, like the
right,
MLF version of the Elite Series, which they went away from it this past season, but then 2024 they're going back to it where every fish counts.
right,
They usually put it on depending on the lake, and they'll get with local officials and stuff to determine like a minimum weight. But then it's like every fish you catch over 2 pounds, or whatever the weight is for that lake, every fish
right.
counts. And there's a lot of debate that goes on around that, but that's that's the closest thing I could think of the way you're talking about, where it's not
Yeah.
just targeting big fish or whatever. It's just it's all the combined fish you catch for the day.
And that's where, when you're guiding, you want to put your clients on the biggest fish. 99% of the time that client's like, I want to catch a 5 pound plus rainbow.
Yeah,
Cool. I know exactly where we're going to go. That was the tough transition being my first tournaments, is that the water that you normally walk by that's only holding an 8 or 10 inch fish that you never fish, you need to be fishing that, because that's a 20 point, or over 180 millimeters. Those are fish that will count towards your points. So that was a big. Even now, it's still like when I was fishing that one the next weekend, it was still getting into that mindset of I have to catch every fish possible. So,
that's
and
kind of like
there were 2 runs. Yeah, there's 2 runs. I caught like 50 fish, but they were only 4 to 6
yeah,
inches.
didn't score.
And they, yeah. Yep.
That's kind of almost right opposite to what I've seen like some bass guides get into that try to do guiding and tournament fishing.
Yeah.
Because like whenever they're taking, say it's a father son, or taking a group out on a guided trip, they want to catch a lot of fish. Yeah, I mean
Right.
they want to catch big fish, but they feel like they have to keep people on fish all day, just for them to feel like they're getting their money's worth or whatever. So they spend a lot of time trying to find big schools of fish, high percentage areas where fish like to congregate and stuff, and then they'll go try to fish a tournament, and you're fishing all day for 5 bites. I mean,
Yep.
you're catching more than that, but you're scoring your best 5 bites. So they might go out and catch 100 fish, and then somebody else went up the river and caught 6 fish all day, but they weighed twice as much as what
Right.
the other guy had, just because he hasn't spent his time on the water looking for big fish. He's on the water probably more than me and anybody else. The guide is,
Yep.
but he's trying to make his clients happy and stuff like that. So there's kind of
Exactly.
that mindset between guiding and tournament style fishing that
Yep.
always you always got to try to find that fine line. Now there's some guys I know, like Emil Wagner, that won the MLF All American this year. He's just an absolute hammer, but he guides on all the lakes up here. I mean, he stays
Right.
on the water, but he also wins everything up here too. Um, so I mean, there's the advantage of being on the water. As much time as guys like that spend, guys like you that guide, but being able to kind of flip that switch from, pleasing a customer to trying to win a tournament, that can get a little dicey sometimes.
It's tough. It's tough because it goes against everything that you do every day.
Yeah,
You know. So yeah, it was. It's. I learned a lot though. I'm glad I did it. I'm gonna try to do 5 to 10 tournaments next year. So even if I got to travel for them, I'm gonna try to do 5 or 10 tournaments next year.
that's awesome. Yeah, definitely keep us
Yeah.
posted on that, because that's when you start talking about tournament fishing and just the competitiveness of it. That's
Yep.
where you pique my interest. I'm all about,
Exactly.
anything to do with competitive. That's why, like, I guess I love tournament fishing so much, because I was just wired insanely competitive.
Yep.
And I've always loved bass fishing. So when I was able to put those two things together, it was just game
That was
on.
the end.
Like
Yep.
I care about nothing else now.
Yep. Yep.
So that's cool.
So, but yeah, it was fun. I'm glad I did it.
Well, did your top secret fly have an
Yeah,
impact on these tournaments?
it did. It did. I mean, a
Tell
lot of
tell
the
us a little bit
guys.
about that fly.
So it's. I guess I'll officially drop the name. It's called. We called it the Bonzo. The reason we came up with the Bonzo is I'm a big Led Zeppelin fan, and the owner of the fly shop that I work at is a drummer. So John Bonham's nickname was Bonzo.
Yeah,
And I had been watching a Led Zeppelin documentary when we were trying to come up with a name, and I was like, dude, let's just call it the Bonzo. And he's just like, yep, that's it.
that's
So
awesome.
yeah, I didn't use it much. I was having a lot of luck with another one of my patterns, so I didn't really switch over to it.
Yeah,
But everyone else used it and they did very well. So it's become one of our guide choice. Like, they're not hitting, throw the Bonzo on.
yeah. Well, I
So
know for a guy like me that doesn't really know know a lot about like the difference between flies and stuff like that. I know
yeah,
those pictures you sent me, you know, whenever you were dropping it and all that, I mean, it looks freaking sweet. I mean, if
yeah,
nothing
yeah.
else, I know you got it up on your socials there, so definitely,
Not yet.
you
No,
know,
I actually haven't posted it yet.
that's not it. Oh,
No,
oops,
no,
I'm
I'm
dropping a
dropping
bomb
it.
on you.
I
I
think the
guess it
one
was
I
in
sent.
the message I saw.
Yeah, the Lucy and the LSD are the two that I just posted.
No,
I'm actually
just kidding.
dropping to go along with the episode. I'm gonna drop on StoneFly Outdoors on Instagram. I'm gonna post the Bonzo, the first pictures of it.
Okay,
So I'll
well,
make sure I do that so we can get it out in the world and be free.
we can edit that
So,
out if we need to. I thought that was the.
oh no,
I
no,
guess
that's
I'm
fine.
remembering the messages that you sent us, the
Yeah,
pictures of it.
yeah.
My bad.
So, oh, it's fine with me. We're just still teasing the audience.
There you go.
So yeah,
Every time we have Bailey on, we gotta have something to make them want to come back for, right?
right. But yeah. So at the posting of this, whenever this is posted, the pictures will be up.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So y'all heard
So
that. So let's just go ahead and while we're there, tell them where it's going to be at on your socials.
Instagram at StoneFly Outdoors, Facebook at StoneFly Outdoors. I'll post a picture of it on TikTok at StoneFly Outdoors. So it's going to be everywhere. We're not selling it yet. We're going to be soon. I got to catch up on like 2 orders, and then I'm gonna start cranking them out. So we'll start putting them
So
out. And there's actually a friend of mine is out in Colorado right now, and they have like half a dozen, and they're going on a guided trip tomorrow. And I'm like, hey, see if the guide will throw it. So hopefully they'll catch a nice big trout out in Colorado with that thing.
get you some good pictures of it.
Yep, yep.
You
So
know, some of our
fingers
listeners out
crossed.
there, you know, this might be, you know, if you got that fly fisher in your family, you know, Christmas is coming up.
Yep, I'm
Get
actually
you
going to be dropping. I'm dropping
get you some
boxes.
StoneFly exclusives.
Yep, I'm dropping some boxes here in the next couple weeks. With it'll be all the information will be on the socials, but there's going to be 40 flies in each box. Going to be selling for the holidays, and none of them are tied by anybody but me. So there'll be small silicone boxes. There's 40 flies in it. The boxes hold like 90 or 84 flies. So they'll be posted up, ready to sell here in about 2 weeks.
And he guarantees that you'll catch your PB fish with
Sure, why not?
it.
Might as well. You never know what you'll catch that day.
No, hey, that's awesome. You know, I'm excited to
I
see
might as well be a
that
weapon
stuff get
man.
dropped. There you go,
Oh,
man.
oh man,
You got to risk it to get the biscuit sometimes, you know.
always, always, man.
You just got to
Yeah,
throw it out there and see what sticks.
yep. So I'm starting a every Wednesday. I'll be posting a beginner's fly tying night. That'll be good.
Yeah, I saw where
Um,
you got that rolling last week. That's awesome.
yeah, yeah. So that's gonna be. I'm still gonna be figuring out the format here soon. I think I might record the episode and then post it, and then have like a Q&A that night.
Okay.
So yeah, I'll
So
post
now,
around 5. Do what?
will you still be doing like your Monday night fly tying stuff?
Oh, with the guys? Oh yeah.
Where you go live on your
Yep.
Instagram?
Yep. And I'll still be going live for the beginner fly time. So like I said, I'll post the video of the pattern. It'll be a quick, 8-10 minute video. And then 8 o'clock on Wednesdays from 8 to 9, we'll do a Q&A, talk about technique and the fly that I posted and stuff like that. So I
Yeah,
think that's
and
the
so
format I'm going to go to.
for all you listeners out there, if you haven't been able to pick up on it yet from the first episode we did with Bailey and this one, he really does have he has a passion for educating and enabling you to be able to go out and enjoy fly fishing and how to do it right so that where people like me that know nothing about it. I mean, I've jumped in a few of the your live stuff on Mondays, and I don't always know what you're talking about, but like it's really cool seeing the process, and
Yep.
just in the conversations that you have with the guys, I'm able to pick up stuff to where
Yep.
the next time I get in or when I see you posting stuff on your socials, I mean it at least I know what it is. I may not know how to go out and use it,
Right.
but I pick up little tidbits every time I go on, and then I'm imagining the beginner fly time thing you're doing on Wednesdays is going to be more tailored to the people like me
Yep.
that that don't have that knowledge and that experience and that background in it to where you can kind of build that foundation and learn on it and go out in
Right.
the field and use
So
it.
yeah. So to add on to that, it'll probably be after the holidays, just because there is going to be people that are getting their first fly tying kit and all this stuff, or they might have a gift card to go buy stuff. So I'm probably going to drop it January 1st ish, depending on the day of the week. I'm going to be doing a. It's going to be in that beginner fly tying series. I think it's going to be a little bit of a branch, but like a materials list to start. If you want to get into it, if you have that gift card, or you want to just get into it, then or I might start it earlier with the holidays coming up. I don't know. I got to decide, but I'm going to give you a materials list. If you want to tie a pheasant tail nymph, here's your material list. If you want to tie a woolly bugger, here's your materials list. And I'm going to go through and show you how to tie each one of those. So I'll probably do 10 patterns. They're just should be on every beginner's list. So you
That's
can spread
awesome.
that technique out, and yeah, that's
It's
that's
made
kind of the
me
goal is the education.
Yeah, man. And nothing
So
else, just watching y'all have fun, the community you have there around tying. It's made
yeah.
me want to, it's made me kind of want to start dabbling in like tying my own jigs and stuff for bass fishing just to be able to sit down and tie it. The closest thing I have to it is, in the wintertime, I'll mess around with like painting some crankbaits and jerk baits
Yep.
and stuff like that. But, seeing y'all with the vices and all that, it's made me want to at least explore the option and maybe start, playing with my own little color patterns and stuff and tying my own jigs, tying my own
Oh yeah.
skirts and stuff on. But no,
Yep.
it's
Some
really
bugs
cool.
are
It's
really
really
big.
cool what y'all do.
So I know you're only a couple hours away from where I live now. Again, I live up in the mountains now, but I'm finalizing a fly tying night every Thursday there in Waynesville, North Carolina. So once we
Okay.
get it finalized with the brewery that we're going to be having it at, then it's going to be every Thursday, 6 to 9 o'clock. Thirsty Thursday fly tying night.
I will
Come to
definitely,
the brewery,
I'll,
tie flies, do whatever you want.
I'll make a 2 hour trip to come drink a beer and tie flies with you.
That's what I'm saying. So, but yeah, once I finalize it, again, that'll be posted on the socials. Um, yeah, it's all kind of steamrolling in a good way,
That's awesome, man.
which
That's
is what I
awesome.
want. Yeah.
So how much right now going into like the cold weather does your guiding, does it slow down? Does it stay the same?
Oh, it's damn near stopped,
Really?
especially through the fly shop because we have over ten guides. And even though I own my own company and I guide through that company and everything else, I'm the bottom man on the totem pole, which is fine. I understand how this works, and so all your long term guides and your full timers are going to get the trips first, which is again that's fine. They got to eat. Thankfully I have this company to help me out, but I probably won't guide unless I get one through my company. I won't guide the month of November probably.
Yeah.
So December probably won't. Well, December I think I have. I think there's like 6 or 8 trips for December just to get some winter brook trout fishing. So December and January total, I think it's like 15 trips right now.
I guess with why I
So
was why I was asking that is does like going into these winter months, does that create more time for you to be able to tie more and stock up
oh yeah,
for the rest of the year?
oh yeah, absolutely. But that's when winter times when you have good chance of going out and catching just a slab of a fish. So we
Yeah.
still actually, a lot of the guys, that are in the industry, especially the winter months, is when we can go out and have fun. Because you're booked so much through the summer and spring, summer, and fall that when it's 10 degrees outside and the wind's going 20 miles an hour, when no one wants to be on the water, that's when we're like, all right, let's do this. Let's go chase these big browns with a streamer.
And so that's kind of the
So,
same for me, other than having to like bundle up in the morning,
mhm.
running down the lake. Like I love wintertime fishing
Oh, it's
because
great.
if for no other reason, the only other people on the lake are fishermen. Like,
That's it.
the pleasure boats are part, the jet skis are
Yep.
part. Just there's no idiots on the lake. You can just focus on
Yeah.
fishing,
It's
and
damn near still water the whole day.
yeah, it's great. But I mean,
Yeah.
with when our season takes off, it forces you to have to go out, in the winter months because like my first tournament for 24 is January 27th.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's gonna be cold. And what's cool about the way like bass pattern in the wintertime, it's like once you find them, like they don't move a whole lot.
No.
They'll get some bait corralled up in a pocket, and like until that bait ball's gone, like you can go find fish and go milk off that hole for several weeks. So
Yeah.
it's a good opportunity. Like people don't realize that like fishing is really really good in the wintertime for bass fishing anyway. And
Yep.
you gotta face some of the elements sometimes, but you can go out and
Brain.
you can catch some awesome fish because
Yeah.
it's cold yet. Our minds aren't necessarily thinking the spawn that we know is coming in the springtime, but these fish like they're feeding up. This is when they're getting huge.
They're getting fat. They're like, hey, in March, April, we got to get this stuff going. So yeah, the fishing. What I like about the winter is it's a lot more technical when it comes to trout.
Yeah,
It is a lot more technical, and you really got to focus on your technique, on choosing your pattern. You're not going to go out and have a 50 fish day like you would in the middle of the summertime. You're
right.
going to go out, you're going to catch maybe 10 fish, and you're going to work your ass off for it. And that's what I like about it, is you have to be technically very strong to fish in the wintertime. So if it was me, like honestly, if I was a client, that's when I would be booking trips, because the fishing is harder. Like you have a very good chance of going out knowing you're going to get skunked.
Right.
Like I don't leave the house in the wintertime saying, man, I can't wait to catch these 10, 24-inch brown trout. It's like, all right, I just want one. Just give me one.
That's what I've always said, that the reason they start like tournament season in the wintertime is because they know that if they put it in the middle or at the end that none of us would show up. Like
Yeah.
they have to put it at the very beginning when we're like, gung ho, adrenaline's high, like we're ready to get the season started, and
Yep.
we don't have a care in the world of what the weather and the conditions are. It's just, tournament season's back, we're ready to go.
Yep.
And then
Just
you get in
chomping at the
you,
bit.
you get in the lake and everything's frozen, and it's just, I think that's the only reason I can think of why why we would have to start the season in the winter, because it's the only time they would get us to go.
Yep. It's just dangling that prize and dangling that meat in
Yeah.
front of you.
It's like I'm
Oh,
thinking, when we took off this past January 23, like I remember it being 27 degrees at blast off. So 27 degrees, and then you add, 70 miles an hour running across
yep.
the lake. Like it just, especially right now coming off of like warm weather, that just sounds like torture. But then like thinking back to the tournament, it's like I don't even remember being cold.
Yeah.
Like I was just so fired up that it was finally, the new season was here, that we were off and rolling again. And
Yep. That adrenaline's going.
everybody's got those high expectations of, how they're going to do that year and stuff. And you're just, all you care about is getting to that first spot and
Yep.
get rolling with it. And
It's
it'll
just
be
like
the same this year. Like right now I dread it because like this morning, whenever I got in my truck, it was about 4 a.m. and I think my truck read 28 this morning. And I just remember thinking that was the most miserable walk to my truck. Not like doing anything, just walking out my front door and walking to my truck. It was absolutely miserable. And
yeah.
then I was going down the road, and that was my thought. It was like, man, this is about the temperature it was, on Kiwi for round one, and I'm like, why do we think this is fun?
Well, that's like working in North Dakota for 10 years, you know? It's like I'm out there swinging a hammer and minus 50. And I'm like, this sucks. And then you get your paycheck, and it's just like fishing a tournament, you know? Once you're out there, you're like, okay, well, I can deal with this. You know, once you just put it all aside and realize your why and your how and everything else, you're like, all right, let's do this. Like the other day, I
Yeah,
had a client, and my feet got cold the other day. Then he hooked into a fish, and it was like I didn't even feel that cold on my feet when he hooked into a fish. So,
yeah. I know for me, it's like finesse techniques really come into play in the wintertime. Fish
yep,
just aren't they're not roaming as much, so everybody's got to play with a drop shot. Everybody plays with a shaky head, things like that. But I try to mix in some power fishing techniques throughout the day just to generate some movement. Whether
right,
it be like some speed cranking with some crankbaits, some swim baits, jerk baits, things like that, just to make me move a little bit.
yeah,
Because there's nothing worse than just like standing there looking at live scope, watching your bait dangle there, just not moving, and then you decide to move spots and you go to run back to the console to take off, and it just hurts because you're so cold.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's one of my favorite memories bass fishing was we went out on the lake and we were fishing in like a lot shallower than we should have been. There was just a really cool drop off, you know, and everything had moved in place. It was about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and we let the wind kind of push us into this cove. And I was like, dude, I'm gonna try something. And I threw an unweighted fluke just kind of right beside this log that was submerged, and 6.5 pounder. Just
Oh yeah,
and my buddy was like, dude, that fish should not have been there. I'm like, well, it was.
it's one of those resident big girls that just stays up there all year.
She doesn't care. She comes out for the afternoon sun and warms
Mm.
up.
So
Yeah.
there's speaking of that, that's give a little nugget here to the listeners for a way to attack a lake. That's kind of my how I go at these wintertime tournaments, right? I'm on blueback heron lakes up here for the most part. So you can go out and find schools of spotted bass and good
Yep.
sized stuff in the ditch, but then it's like kind of when I hit a certain threshold of what five fish I've got in the box, like I push up shallow, and I go
Uh-huh.
on certain transitions that I know are prevalent for bass that want to kind of start having that inclination to go in shallow. It's typically the first wave of big ones that go up. And dude,
Yep.
I'm throwing 7 to 9 inch, huge swim baits to where
Oh yeah.
I may only get one more bite the rest of the day, but it's a one bite that could be, a $5,000 fish
Right.
if I catch it, that big kicker. So that's where, nobody, not a lot of people throw or even have confidence to throw big baits any time of the year, but much less in the winter time.
Oh yeah.
But so that's
Yeah.
where now there's things inside of that we could have a whole nother podcast episode up
Uh,
about how I do that. But I mean, I utilize those big baits shallow just to try to catch that one big largemouth that's already pushing up there thinking about the spawn, because like the first lake we're going to, it's a power plant lake. That water
oh
is going to be, that water, even in 27-degree weather, like there's places in there that was pushing 60-degree water temp. Like
yep.
those fish are thinking about spawning in January. So
Oh yeah.
you've already got waves of them that are up shallow, and that's one thing that I do, to try to separate myself is utilizing those big baits up shallow.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you,
That's kind of the thing with the wintertime trout fishing, you know, with the streamers. Start with the meat, man. Throw a big ass articulated streamer, see what moves.
yeah,
Because you know they'll get in that mode of, and now granted the water stays a lot colder up there. And yes, trout are cold water fish, yada yada. Yeah, we can talk about spawn and all that, but you know, it could be dead of winter and you're throwing a 6 inch, peanut envy or sex dungeon or whatever it might be, and you just strip it, and all of a sudden you see this yellow flash in the water, and you're like, all right, this is what we're doing. You know, you sit
yeah,
there for 5 or 10 minutes, let it get reset, throw it again, pop, pop, pop. So
yeah.
that's what I love about it, about the
And
wintertime.
And talk, one more little thing about the big baits. That's I'll throw more. I'll throw like a glide bait and big, like a Huddleston style swim bait a lot
Yep.
during practice. Because I don't necessarily want to hook them all, right? But I can go through an area, maybe a brush pile, a dock, whatever it may be, and I can pull whatever's on that dock off because they're going to follow, a big Chad shad or that
Yep.
Huddleston or whatever, and I can know kind of what caliber of fish is living in there, and then I can go back and maybe they do want to bite it the next day, but maybe they don't. But then I can go skip a jig up under that dock or
Yep.
you know throw a shaky head into that lay down or whatever it may be, a more high
Yeah.
percentage bait, just because I was like, well, I know there's a 7 pounder in there because I saw it.
Yep.
Things that I never would have seen if I didn't use, something big and bulky to try to pull them out. So,
Right.
there's instances to where you using the right bait, you may not catch the fish on it, but it can tell you so much about an area. You can find out what's living there just by being able to draw them out.
Yeah. It's just like when I take a client out. That first 20 minutes, 30 minutes, I'm going to throw what I know usually works in the morning. If it doesn't work, we're going to prospect. Let's go down the line. Let's see what's pushing these fish around.
Yeah.
It might not be what I might not have used that bait or that lure or, fly or whatever for a month. And for some reason today, it's getting all of them to just push around and move. And that's prospecting is one of my favorite things of fishing, whether it's bass, trout, it doesn't matter. Like I love prospecting
You
because
learn so much.
you learn so much, and most of the time you're not expecting to get those big hits.
Yeah.
You're literally just there trying to move those fish around just to get them to move, and you'll see that 5 pounder coming after you, but then all of a sudden that 8 pounder comes up from the deep, and you just see a mouth around, your jerk bait or whatever, and it's like, oh
Hmm.
shit, this is happening, and that's it. It's game on. It's
Yeah.
just it's so unpredictable prospecting, and that's what I love about it. It's like gambling, man. It is like a gamble on the water,
Well, hell, that's like what tournament fishing is in general.
right? It's fun. It's fun,
Yeah.
man. It's like I said, I'm really pushing to go on the education side of things. I love time flies. I'm still gonna always do it, but I really want to gear more towards that education.
Yeah. That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got a really good platform for it too, right? You got consistent guys that are getting on there and contributing to it, as well as just generating good conversation to where
Right.
it's not scripted, it's authentic. That's what I really enjoyed about it, because every time I've ever logged into any of your stuff, like, hell, you don't know what you're going to hear. I mean, even if I did
Especially
know
on
what I was
Monday.
going to hear, I wouldn't know what it was anyway. But you can just tell
Yeah.
that there's a wealth of knowledge in front of some microphones and cameras. And
Yeah.
you know if you're trying to learn about fly fishing or tying flies or what it may be, like that's the way to do it. Like, just get in
Oh
there,
yeah.
because what's going to come out of it is it's you're not going to find it in a book somewhere. Well, you may, I don't know, but just the way y'all are interacting with it, it's real. Like, you can see it in person, what you're working on, and talking through it. And
Well,
that's one thing I've really enjoyed about it.
and that's what I love about it is, we might be talking about some crazy off the wall shit,
Yeah.
and someone will ask in the feed, they're like, "Hey, can someone explain to me this?" And it's so funny because we'll go from laughing and carrying on and talking about whatever to, "All right, what was your question again?" Cool, yeah, and then we all give our opinion on it. And
Yeah,
we have
you get
two
you get
salt
multiple
guys.
perspectives of it.
Yep, yep. We have two saltwater fishermen, two trout fishermen, and it's just such a great dichotomy that we all bring something to the table, but none of us take it serious.
Yeah.
Like we're just dudes. That's it, man. We're dudes just having a good time. Time flies, shooting the shit, and that's how we always want to keep it. Like we had talked about doing like an actual uh, sit down and get together and all that, and I'm like, well, let's do that, but let's not make it formal. Like I don't want it to be like scripted or formal or anything. Like if we ever all of us meet in person, we're gonna record, and it's exactly what y'all see online is how it's gonna be exactly in person. like so that's what I like I said, the education, the just I love seeing people learn, man. I was a camp counselor and seeing that spark when someone learns something. That's what I'm like, that's why I do it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a
So,
cool feeling for sure.
Yep.
Well, hey, I got a little side question for you here. I know last
Uh-oh.
time we hit you with the telling us your favorite fishing story and all that,
Yep.
but if for everybody that tuned into our last episode, we had a lot of fun with that one. It was talking about you know things that you have to have with you to take fishing that have absolutely nothing to do with fishing. So, what's something that you can't go fishing without, but it has absolutely nothing to do with fishing?
So I can't go, well, I say I can't go anywhere and I don't have it with me right now. But if I'm on like an adventure or something, when I was a camp counselor, one of these little campers, she came up and she bought this pillow pet at camp and named him Gregory. And she came up, she was like, Bailey, you go on a lot of really fun adventures, and I want you to have Gregory so he can go on adventures with you. And I'm like, oh, okay, okay. And I take that pillow pet everywhere, everywhere. Like
Okay.
he's back, I'm at my parents right now at the time of this recording, just visiting, and um, he's up at my house up in the mountains. And when I leave to go to Maryland for this next week, Gregory's going to be right there with me. He's in my, so I have the Umpqua, I think it's the ZR2. It's a chest pack with a little pack on the back of it.
Yeah.
And how I have him in there is it's zipped up and his head's poking out of the pack. Like every day that I'm on the water, Gregory is on the water.
That's
So, and that's
awesome.
just, it's if I'm on an adventure, that's where Gregory's at. And it, again, has nothing to do with fishing. I just made a promise that I would take him on adventures, and that's what I do.
So, do you
So,
ever, like send pictures back of what Gregory's doing and things
I,
like that, just to?
man, I have pictures from all over the country, and I have enough that I could easily start an Instagram for Gregory. And
You should.
I've really thought about it. I think I'm going to. I think I'm going to focus a lot more on taking a lot more pictures of him this winter. But yeah, he's missing an ear. I mean, dude, I got him in 2016.
Wow.
So, and he's gone everywhere with me since 2016.
Dude, that'd be so much more entertaining than these people that like make an Instagram page for their like little foo dog and stuff like
Right.
that.
Yep.
That
Because
would be cool.
I can throw him up in the air. You know what I mean? I can do all this stuff with it. It's like, that's Gregory. That's my dude. And my clients get a kick out of it, and anytime I'm on a road trip, I put him up on the dash in the Jeep. He's just sitting there front and center, just looking out the road. Everything I see, Gregory gets to see.
So next
So,
time we have Bailey on, he's gonna be able to give us the social links to the Gregory Instagram page.
yep, I'll do it. I'll start one because of this. I'll start one for him. Yep.
Making things happen over here.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No, I'll do
Um,
it. It'll be worth it. It'll be fun.
Heck yeah.
So
Well, dude, it's been a blast having you back on. I've enjoyed it.
yeah,
I feel like, last time after our episode, after we wrapped up, I feel like we talked about so much more cool stuff that could have been a whole nother episode in itself. So,
yep.
we need to make sure we have you back on periodically just so that, some of the funny stuff we talk about gets recorded.
I'm down with it,
Um,
man. We don't have to post our test. We don't have to do that.
Dude, that would be that thing that would go. I can't even say it straight without laughing. That would go viral in about 4 seconds.
Oh my god, dude. But no.
Oh, we'll just say
Oh,
that. So we were running an audio test before we started recording, and we had a scripted line that we were all supposed to say, and Bailey kind of went off the reservation. uh, you know, I have it on my computer if I ever need to, need to use it against him or nothing. But it was
the problem
clearly
is I'm the guy
clearly it
that
was
does
great.
it
We're
the other
still
way.
laughing about it.
Oh my god. But for
It's
those
just
watching this episode, make sure you go ahead and download the Hunt Lift Eat app. Join Hunt Lift Eat, Fish Lift Eat, all the socials. I'm in the Hunt Lift Eat app. I think starting next week, I'm going to start posting cross posting. Everything from Instagram is going to be on Fish Lift or Hunt Lift Eat. So I'm gonna start a thread for
Absolutely.
StoneFly Outdoors fly fishing thread. So
Awesome. Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of good stuff that gets passed around in there that, it's exclusive to our team. So,
yep,
check out, when you're on the socials, check out, Fish Lift Eat Official, but then make sure you're also checking out Hunt Lift Eat Official and all of their, we got the podcast page up there for the Hunt Lift Eat podcast. And then, you can head on over to huntlifteat.com so you can get a lot more information about the team, but then also be able to go in there and get you some Hunt Lift Eat and Fish Lift Eat gear. We got some shirts,
swag.
some hoodies, get the swag. You can get a sweet flag like what you see behind me here. But that's the place to find all that.
I need something for my fly tying room. So
Yeah,
I gotta figure out
everything from.
I need StoneFly Outdoors flags. I need flags made.
We can get that info to you. But then even we, a couple episodes back, I had to nonchalantly had some HLE gear save me because, we had Kobe Folks on. We were talking about his brewing company and stuff like that. And I had like a Coors Light over here that I was drinking during it. And so I didn't want to be, a douche and pull in a Coors Light while he's sitting here promoting his beer. So luckily, I was looking on my desk and I had the Hunt Lift Eat koozie sitting here. So I was able just to nonchalantly slide that on and carry on.
Sitting there like, man, I love your beer. Drinking a Silver Bullet. I love your beer.
I was trying to drop a few nuggets telling him, that we were needing a beer sponsor for the podcast.
There you go. I might have one too. So
awesome.
But yeah, man, it's been great talking to you, and look forward to hopping on again.
Yeah. So for everybody, we'll reiterate it one more time. Make sure you find Bailey on all socials at StoneFly Outdoors. Tune in to his Monday night lives and now his beginner fly tying stuff on Wednesday nights. And whenever you go out and apply what you learned from him, make sure you tag him in it, tag us in it as well, and so that we can follow along with your adventures and everything you're doing, and so that we can better prepare stuff that's going to benefit you out in the field.
Yep, 100%. I want to see everybody doing great. Even if you're not doing great, even if you're on the water and you're getting frustrated, you're like, hey, these are the water conditions. I don't know what is going on. Record those and send them to me. I will directly message you. It's not one of those things like I don't have a lot. I think I'm right at 2,000 followers. Even if I had 30,000 followers, I still go through and look at all of my messages. So if you're struggling on the water and you need help, send me a message, record it, and say, look, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I'll do everything I can in my ability to help you out. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Bailey, until we have you on again, thank you for coming on and spending your evening with us. And for all our listeners out there, until next week, keep them lines wet, and we'll catch you on the next cast. See y'all.